everyone, RogueGold here. Welcome back to The Division 2, and welcome to the new season. We are officially in Year 7 Season 3. Now, just like every new update for the game, we get a bunch of new items, new gear, weapons, etc. But in this video, you may have heard about a certain new brand set making waves. And that's not only because it offers very strong bonuses on its own, but it also slots directly into the meta mold, if you will, that we already have. And in many cases, it enhances some of the best existing builds within the game. I don't know that I've ever bothered to do a brand set specific build overview and breakdown, so maybe that helps put into perspective how worthwhile this is to pay attention to. But today, we're going to be breaking down everything with the new Unit Alloys brand set and showcasing 3 top build picks that I think you all will enjoy. So, let's get right to it. If you want to stay tuned for all of my other coverage on the new season, then be sure to subscribe. A major shout out and thank you to our channel members for your continued support. It's your generosity and contributions that allow me to keep doing what I do on here, which I appreciate so much. But with that down, let's get right to it. Okay, so this is the new brand set for the season, Unit Alloys. It can be acquired via the Season Pass, where you will also get the blueprints for it. But, as always, you can also just farm this via targeted loot. I did a quick run of countdown when the season dropped to grab a bunch of my pieces for it. Now, by just looking at this, maybe you can already tell what is going to make this set so strong. At the 1 piece, we've got 5% rate of fire. At the 2 piece, 20% assault rifle damage. And at the 3 piece, 50% magazine size. Evidently, this set is catered to assault rifle usage, which is already the most popular and used weapon class within the Division 2. But by it offering 20% damage and 5% rate of fire, that means that it pretty much immediately outshines sets like Fenris or Walker and Harris. That's not all, however, because Unit Alloys also comes with 2 pretty incredible named variants. Firstly, we have the Equalizer. This is a chest piece that has perfect Obliterate. Obliterate is one of, if not the most commonly used chest piece talent for damage builds in the endgame, and the community has been requesting a perfect version of it for a long time now. And so it's here on an incredibly synergistic piece in terms of the brand bonuses. Additionally, we then have the Salvo. This offers you a 5% rate of fire attribute, and that means that just by wearing this holster, you would get a 10% rate of fire buff, and keep in mind, that can be used on any weapon and any class, not just assault rifles. So, clearly the potential and potency of this new brand set is very high, and because of that, I came up with 3 different loadouts that I want to present to you all. Keep in mind that I'm not categorizing or presenting these as the 3 highest DPS builds in the entire game. Rather, I wanted to showcase to you a variety of setups you could go for. One caters to the more everyday usage kind of slot, one is a bit more of a niche and fun loadout, and then I did include a strictly meta setup. So, let's get to those and take a look. This first loadout is what I envision to be my kind of everyday assault rifle loadout moving forward. It's not going to absolutely max out the DPS charts, but in many ways, does it need to? If you've been following along in recent seasons, we are getting pretty insanely powerful. Up until recently, expertise levels continue to go up. There's just the general power creep in item design that we're seeing. Seasonal modifiers are crazy if you choose to use those. And so while Unit Alloys can be put solely into DPS, which we're going to see, stay tuned, if you go that route, it is honestly overkill for the vast majority of the Division 2's endgame content. And so what I've done for this build is take full advantage of the power the Unit Alloys is offering, and then with that wiggle room provided, spec'd into some more utility that should ultimately make my gameplay much more frictionless. So, here is the build. The core of this build is 4 piece of Striker's battle gear. This is no huge shock, it is the go-to damage set in the game. For that reason, I do have the Striker's backpack to maximize the stack damage. I'm not using the chest piece as it is not really needed or fully utilized in your everyday PVE content. I've then got the 2 named pieces for Unit Alloys, so the Salvo holster is boosting my rate of fire, and that will become very important in a second. And then of course the Equalizer chest piece. Obliterate is just the go-to chest piece talent on this kind of a build, so using the perfect version is of course ideal here. The 2-piece bonus of that is giving me that amazing 20% assault rifle damage boost, which directly benefits my primary, where we have the St. Elmo's Engine exotic. When I mentioned that I took away some areas of damage in this build to increase my utility, this is what I was referring to, because while I could absolutely use a Lexington with Killer, which is one of the top DPS picks, I don't really need that much damage, again, for the vast majority of your everyday PvE content. Don't get me wrong, the St. Elmo's is still very great for damage with its amazing crit mods, but its talent sacrifices any damage to instead be very useful for crowd control. Additionally, by buffing my rate of fire by 10% with salvo, that in turn increases how quickly I can acquire my next clip of shock ammo from the St. Elmo's talent, and that locks down enemies in the battlefield that much more consistently. Across all of my pieces, I have 6 weapon damage cores, crit chance and damage on every attribute and mod. In total, that is getting me to 55% crit chance and 118% crit damage. Keep in mind that the location of your attribute rolls does not matter, just the overall totals that you're reaching. Aim to get as close to 60% crit chance as you can, and then put the rest into crit damage. Finally, the gunner specialization here is most recommended. Because of that, I am utilizing the Banshee Pulse skill that unlocks, but use whatever skills best fit your playstyle. Moving on to loadout number 2, we get to my more creative and inventive build in this list, because while Unit Alloys does offer new heights of raw damage, yes, I wondered, do its perks allow for us to build in any new or unique ways? I think this is one of those ways. This loadout has been a lot of fun so far. Again, you're not going to absolutely top the damage charts, but this creates some pretty neat perk interactions. It also has a lot more self-sustain built in if you're looking for not as much of a glass cannon-y setup. So, here is the build. Do note that whereas usually there are plenty of variations and replacements to be made for your weapons or other items, this build does revolve pretty specifically around some of the unique properties and talents on these items, and in turn, it may be a bit more restrictive than usual in that regard. I do think going for this specific setup is worth it, though, so let me explain. Let's begin by looking at my primary weapon, which is the Huntsman. As of right now, there are 2 ways you can get this item. One is from completing all 8 of the Brooklyn Hunter puzzles if you own the Battle for Brooklyn DLC. It's also popped up more recently within Stretch Goals, which is the end of season farming event. We're using this weapon because it is the only assault rifle that can roll with Frenzy, and that in turn grants us increasing damage and rate of fire depending on how many rounds are in our magazine. That's perfect for us because the 3-piece bonus of Unit Alloys takes our FAMAS's mag size to 75. Meaning that whenever we reload from empty, we're getting 27% rate of fire and damage for 9 seconds. On top of that, we're then also getting the 10% rate of fire boost compared to our baseline value from running the salvo. I also did want to note that this energizes perfectly with the Stack Broker shotgun, which everybody can get for free by logging into the Division 2 before January 6th. This gun is perfect for stack building, but inherently it lacks in magazine size. But again, 3 pieces of Unit Alloys takes us up to 30 rounds on this ACS-12, so I highly recommend running this gun. Works very well here. All of what we have just discussed then plays into our primary gear set, which is Heartbreaker. This set functions pretty similarly to Striker, however it also grants you bonus armor as you build up your stacks. And the brilliance of all of this is that because we're getting such high rate of fire from both the Stack Broker and Frenzy, plus the larger magazine size, that helps us sustain a very high stack building uptime, if you will. And so all in all, this has just been a very effective combo that I've been having a lot of fun with in gameplay. We are using the Heartbreaker chest piece that allows us to build up to 100 total stacks. We also have the Ninja Bike exotic backpack. This is the only thing that is going to allow us to get both the 4-piece bonus of Heartbreaker and the 3-piece bonus of Unit Alloys at the same time. On the build, I do have 3 total armor cores and 4 weapon damage cores. I'm running a little bit of armor so as to have some substance to build up bonus armor from Heartbreaker's talent. As for attributes, everything is into crit chance and damage. The totals for my Huntsman is 55% crit chance and 91% crit damage. Once again, the placement of your rolls is irrelevant. Just aim for your totals to get close to 60% crit chance and then pour everything else into crit damage. Finally, once again, we are using the Gunner specialization. If you want to use a pulse skill variant for Heartbreaker, you do need to have pulsed targets to build that up, then definitely go for it. Keep in mind that it is a common misconception that you need to have an external pulse capability to use Heartbreaker. You do not. The 4-piece talent makes it so that headshotting a target pulses them for 5 seconds. And we have the Stack Broker here for exactly that purpose. Get up in the enemy's face, build up those stacks, and then unload on them with the Huntsman. Alright, and then last but not least for loadout number 3, we're going full meta. While I contest that all-out DPS is not required for a lot of content like with the last two builds, sometimes you just want to see those numbers go as high as they can, and Unit Alloys now allows for us to go to greater heights than ever before. Keep in mind that some modifications may be in order for specific boss encounters or circumstances. Across the board, this loadout that you're about to see represents the template for one of the new go-to meta options in the endgame. So here is the build. It's probably not going to look too crazily different than what you might be used to, but of course there are some key changes here. So let's take a look at what we're working with. We have 4-piece of Striker as our base, utilizing the backpack for the greatest stack potency. Again, certain pieces of content and situations would call for us to use the Striker chest piece as well, but in the majority of cases you do not need that. Instead, we have slotted in the new Equalizer Unit Alloys chest piece. Normally, in this kind of loadout, you would see us using a Cheska chest piece with Obliterate, but this one change, swapping out crit chance for Rate of Fire and getting that 4% extra damage from Perfect Obliterate, has in fact raised our total possible DPS output. Finally, we then have the Overdog's Exotic Gloves. These released last season, and in many ways, they redefined a lot of red core builds for their ease of access to that 30% amplified damage. It's just too good to pass up. If you did not get these last season, they are now in the general loot pool for targeted glove farming. Finally, for my primary, I then have the Lexington with Killer as my talent. As of whenever they did that huge balance pass several seasons ago, Killer is pretty much the top pick for generalized PVE DPS, and yeah, it works wonders here. Across the build, I've got 6 weapon damage cores, crit chance and damage on all attributes and mods. On my Lexington, I'm hitting 55% crit chance, 114% crit damage. Once again, no surprise, Gunner is the most recommended specialization. Your skills are completely up to you. And yeah, get on out there and kill those red bar NPCs twice over. Maybe 3 times. Or 4. Well, there you have it, everybody. That is my breakdown and a couple of build suggestions for the new Unit Alloys brand set, the new set that is just dropped with the Year 7 Season 3. This is a pretty wild new addition to the game that they've added here. You know, usually there is some consideration with new items, both a pro and a con, but in this case, they just said, nope, here are your new best in slots. You can't deny that they certainly make for some fun builds, so I hope you enjoyed the ones that I showed off here. I would love to know your thoughts on the 3 loadouts showcased in this video, as well as for you all to let me know what builds you plan on running with this new brand. Whether you like my loadouts, you got some feedback, whatever, can't wait to read through your comments. That is going to do it for me on this one though. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you back soon. RogueGold.